All right, hello, Rogue 420 fans. It's CJ, and want to welcome you to another edition of Rogue Interviews. Very excited today to be joined by Sara Makin, who is the founder of Makin Wellness in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. A lot of her work resonated with me. Her work has been featured in Dispense Magazine. She is also the author of Depression to Joy, a parent's handbook for teenage wellness. Sara, welcome to Rogue 420. How are you today?
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking, and thank you for having me on. I'm so excited.
Yeah, I am as well. So let's jump into it. Why don't you share a little bit more for our listeners about your work, about your wellness center, please?
Oh yeah, of course, I'd love to. So Makin Wellness is a premier therapy and coaching center that I founded about 2 years ago. So we specialize in helping people heal and become happy again, and we have a very highly holistic and individualized approach where we have a lot of different natural methods incorporated into the treatment. We have medical marijuana as part of our anxiety and PTSD and opioid use disorder treatment as well. And we're able to see patients in the Western PA region, but also virtually as well, because we are licensed in the state of PA. And my first book, From Depression to Joy, it's like a hand guide for or a handbook for parents who have a teenager or a son or daughter who's struggling with depression. And it helps them to help their teenager heal from depression. And it has all different types of natural but research proven ways of helping to alleviate symptoms of depression. So it's really lovely, and actually the protocol in that anyone can do, but the way it's more written for parents.
Oh, excellent. Very good. And I also love your blog. You put up a lot of great articles there to help, as it relates for everything with mental wellness, which is just so important nowadays. And the other aspect is in regards to the holistic approach that you take with your office. And can you share a little bit I've listened to a podcast before on Dispense Magazine. You talk about how not everyone that may come in may necessarily receive a diagnosis. So can you walk through a little bit in regards to a patient coming in, for the first time as in regards to how you identify or what steps an individual would take to seek out treatment with your office?
Oh yeah, I would love to answer that. So basically, you don't need a referral to come see us. You can call, you can schedule online, you can send us an email, and then once you come in, we go through an intake and basically ask you a bunch of different questions about what's going on in your life, what symptoms you're experiencing, how long you've been experiencing them for. And based off of what's going on with you will depend on what the next steps are. We do see a lot of patients that come in for anxiety evaluations or PTSD or opioid evaluations specifically to help them get their medical cannabis card in PA. So we're able to do that as well. And all of those assessments are very different. And again, it really depends upon whether you fit criteria for the disorder or not. But at the end of the session, we'll let the patient know, and then we'll also give them kind of like an overview of how often we think treatment would be good for them, and can refer them to certifying physicians, and also help connect talented pharmacists at different dispensaries depending upon what location they live in and what's easiest for them. And yeah, for ongoing counseling, we actually are able to use insurance for that, which is really lovely. But not all insurance companies cover for the virtual counseling, but a lot of them do. Like our contract with Highmark, most clients that have Highmark will cover it.
Okay, excellent. And then in terms of, you had one article that was posted in your blog in regards to nutrients and how that affects, diet, exercise, all those things helps. So could you share a little bit around that in terms of your approach to that with diet and mental health?
Yeah, it's definitely connected. If you think about it, if you have like a beautiful Ferrari and you put low quality gas into it, no matter how beautiful the Ferrari is in the beginning, it's not going to work. You have to think of yourself as either like a Ferrari or like something very special that deserves to have good quality and natural foods go in you. So we actually have a nutritionist on staff, Miss Laura Stewart, who's so brilliant, so talented, and she'll sit with our clients and help them out with figuring out a meal plan, or if they're nutritionally deficient or something. You know, many times, actually with depression, many times people who suffer from depression have a vitamin D deficiency, and by increasing the vitamin D intake, they start to feel better as well. So I'm not the expert on nutrition. Definitely Laura is, and she's the one that puts a lot of that content out there and meets with our patients in that way. But the lovely thing is we're able to coordinate care, so I can let Laura know a lot of the symptoms that I notice and what's going on with them, and then she can help to improve their diet in a way that's realistic and practical. Because, you know, not necessarily everyone do organic and, you know, cook for themselves all the time and stuff. A lot of our clients are very busy people, so she's really good at figuring out realistic and effective ways of improving the diet in a way where the client doesn't feel like restrained or very uncomfortable, if that makes sense.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. It sure does. And I see a lot in the autism community in regards to, heal the gut, heal the mind as it relates. And I know that that's one thing that your office, your center does specialize in. Your wellness center is with individuals with autism. So any words of advice or that you'd like to share with those families who may seek out potential holistic needs from your center?
Oh yeah, definitely. One of the biggest things that I would say is to be very careful with your kids and with processed sugars. Refined sugar can actually trigger a lot of negative reactions in clients that suffer that are on the spectrum. So you want to be very careful with that. And if your child really likes sweets and sugary stuff, you can always do something like having like more fruit or honey or more naturally occurring sugar, so then that way they get their fix and they're not having a negative reaction in response to it. And also being careful with the artificial dyes in the food as well, specifically red dyes as well. And just doing your best to having their diet be as natural as possible.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. Very good. I want to shift gears a little bit and talk around. It seems here lately there's been a lot more, whether it's anxiety, PTSD. We're seeing, in my opinion, a lot more mental health related things, whether people want to blame it on social media or those. Are you seeing some of those same things? And obviously getting to a root cause, that's probably more of a difficult thing. But looking for words of wisdom, because we see it a lot with people that, hey, I can't sleep at night, stress, anxiety, and those individuals supporting, whether it's a spouse or a significant other, sometimes it's going to take more than just, hey, you need a vacation or you need to get away or you just need to learn to chill out, things of that nature, versus more seeking out professional services like you offer. So any words of advice for those who may be observing someone maybe going through some of those anxieties, through some of those PTSDs, any recommendation to kind of help them along?
Yeah, so there's a lot of different things. I mean, the first thing is really starting out with self-care and being mindful enough to even realize that you're in a place where you need to take better self-care of yourself. Um, Really encouraging the person to get help. Um, with modern technology nowadays, you can literally see a therapist through your phone, which is really lovely. So finding a center that does online counseling can be really helpful too. Um, and also, whenever you mentioned the challenge with social media, there's actually research that shows that the more time you spend on social media, the worse your mental health gets. So it's really important to limit your social media exposure as much as you possibly can. You need to use it for business. You need to use it for work or whatever it is that you want to do. If you want to share some fun updates to your friends and family, that's lovely. But it's not good to spend too much time on there. There's a lot of comparison. There's so many filters, and people always make their lives sound to be really lovely when they're many times really not. So investing that time instead of putting it into social media, investing it into yourself, your happiness.
Yeah. Absolutely. And then also you've had some luck utilizing alternative health solutions in regards to either cannabidiol or medical cannabis as well. So can you share a little bit around that? And obviously in your state that you're currently in, that anxiety in those is an approved medical condition for medical cannabis. So if you're a listener from out of state, remember that we are specifically talking about PA law. So go for it, Sarah.
Yeah, definitely. So biggest things with one of the reasons why I really love medical cannabis is because it is a natural option that someone can implement into their wellness regimen that can help with reducing symptoms. So many times, if we have patients that have already tried pharmacology, or they're using pharmacology now and they want to have another tool to use as well, many times medical cannabis can be really helpful. So with the way that we incorporate it into the treatment is we basically can help connect the patient with certifying physician that they can go see, and also give them different options for really great dispensaries and different really highly rated pharmacists at the dispensaries. And we are able to coordinate care, and we're able to kind of see what the pharmacists have to say. Like, for instance, if the pharmacist recommends a certain strain and taking it before bed, or microdosing or whatever it is, because we see the clients more frequently, they can give us an update and let us know what they're like, what they notice, if they're noticing a difference in their symptoms, and how they feel. And based off of that, they can adjust the dosing, or kind of figure out different ways of utilizing the medical cannabis. And sometimes have clients who aren't ready for medical cannabis. We've recommended it. They're not ready for it, or they're worried about their job or whatever it is. So they'll start out with CBD typically, and we have a lot of different types of CBD oils at our practices, and we can recommend different kinds depending upon what is going on with the client. And one of the things that I really love about the medical cannabis program is how individualized it is too. It's not a pill for an ill. It is, the staff really listening to what's going on with the patient, and then recommending different strains with different types of terpenes, and cannabis having different kinds of composition depending upon what the patient needs, which is really lovely.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm so glad that you hear in regards to what your statement was, that that's one thing in regards to the industry. And it's so exciting. We're seeing just so many different pop-ups occur, whether it's CBD stores or dispensaries, depending on what state you're in. It's just so important to get the health professionals involved with the treatment. I think at some point, I think, it sounds like your state is being proactive in regards to the entire medical community, the doctors, the pharmacists, the professional health services, like what you offer. And I think that as other states evolve, that will continue to help the patients just for better health outcomes. And that way, all parties involved. Not necessarily, I don't necessarily agree that I see certain, whether it's a gas station attendant, no offense to the job or anything like that, it's a job and everything, but whether they're giving advice regarding CBD or those types of, go ahead.
Yeah. I think that's really inappropriate. I mean, I've had some clients say like, oh, I've already tried CBD. And I always ask them like, what brand was it? Where did you get it from? They're like, oh, I got it from whatever major gas station. I'm like, okay, do you think gas station sushi is going to be as good as going to a sushi restaurant? It's very different. Where you get it from, the quality, the brand, it all really matters for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. The quality, the testing, all those things come into play. Also, you'd mentioned in regards to for out of state potential patients, do you see out of states, or do you recommend them to stay in state, or could they utilize your telehealth services for your center?
Oh, that's a great question. So right now we are licensed in Pennsylvania. So for any type of mental health or addiction treatment service, we only are able to see PA residents. For coaching, which is a different type of service, we're able to see anyone internationally. But for instance, if someone wanted to do some form of anxiety counseling, and having like medical marijuana as part of their treatment. We're not able to do that out of state at this point in time.
Okay, great. And then also, just in closing, anything else that you'd like to share, either about your work or any upcoming events that you're going to be attending, how people can learn more about you? Please go for it, Sara.
No, thank you. Yeah, so we have an upcoming event this Saturday at the Monroeville Convention Center, the Mind, Body, Spirit Healing Expo, and at 12:30, myself and a couple other healthcare providers are going to be speaking about anxiety and medical cannabis. I believe we're going to have a dispensary pharmacist there and another patient advocate. So there's that, and are looking to improve your life, if you're tired of feeling stressed out, or if you've experienced a lot of trauma, my biggest advice is honestly getting help is much less painful and much less distressing than suffering in silence. And to reach out and to connect with someone that you feel comfortable with. And to keep in mind, the most important thing with therapy is the patient and therapist relationship. So if you don't feel comfortable with your provider, or if you feel like your provider is judging you, the outcomes aren't going to be as good as if you connected with someone you feel comfortable with. So that's also important to keep in mind.
Yeah, absolutely. Sara, very well said. And then also for our audience, please make sure to go check out Sara's work. I'm going to bring it up. If you want to visit her website, again, it's makinwellness.com. They also have where there's all kinds of services that are listed, also a great blog with articles to help you. And then also they're on Facebook as well. So you can like their Facebook page, also follow them on Twitter, and that's at Makin Wellness. So Sara, thank you so much. It's been a great interview. I look forward to following your work, continuing to learn more, and I'd like to do this again someday soon.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I would love that as well.
Okay, very good. And for our Rogue 420 fans, don't forget to jump over rogue420.net. Also, subscribe to our YouTube channel. And Sara, thank you for a great interview, and you enjoy the rest of your day.
Yes, you too.
Thank you.